Today's guest is Sheila Winter Wallace, a woman who has spent decades helping others transform their pain into peace and possibility. Sheila has been self-employed since 1975 and has lived a career path that refuses to fit into any traditional box. She began as a registered nurse, later became a certified cosmetician and retail business owner, and eventually found her way into the deeper world of healing and human transformation, first to heal herself and then to help other women do the same. She's a master well system educator, a certified code model coach, and a body spirit integration specialist, guiding women to take the lead in their own lives and reclaim who they truly are beneath the roles they've carried. Sheila has been married for 54 years, lives in the woods of Canada, raised 2 remarkable children, and has rescued Rottweiler since 1987, weaving compassion, curiosity, and courage through every chapter of her life. Sheila, welcome to Project Candor. I am so glad you're here.
And I am so delighted to be here. And thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Well, that is you. That's all you. So I want to ask you questions. I know we're talking about, we're going to play 2 Truths and a Lie, but first I'd like to get to know you a little bit, and I know the listeners would too. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Are you good with that?
Absolutely. Rock on.
So you help women discover who they really are under all the roles they've carried.
Yeah.
What was the moment you realized who Sheila actually is?
Ooh, that's a really, really good question. I don't think I actually realized who I was until I stepped into a colleague's program room. And she was dealing with a context shift and thinking about who we are as spiritual beings, living in a physical world through tissue. And, intellectually, I've always heard people say, well, you're not your body. I didn't really understand what that meant, not viscerally. And I had studied trance states, hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming. I'm a highly advanced craniosacral therapist, among other things. And all of those things have to do with the nervous system. And I still was looking to help people, not recognizing that the default that I was working from unconsciously was things are broken, we got to fix them. Or this is what normal should look like, and this doesn't look normal. And a lot of the time it would be based on diagnoses where clients would come in and nobody could figure out their pain. They'd been to the doctors, they'd been to the chiropractors, they'd been everywhere. No one could figure out their pain. And I did get some relief, but I still, when you're cultural conditioning, and we're all in this way, our economics of scale have really been built on things are broken, we have to fix them. There's a problem, we require a solution. And so until I stepped into my colleague's room and actually heard a perspective of viscerally, the thing that will save you is your breath, to actually soften the body and breathe into the thing that you can't stand. So like if it was chronic pain, for example, I could just actually soften my belly and soften my jaw and start intentionally breathing, leaning into that pain. It gets kind of messy. There might have been tears. I might have been howling or yelling or whatever for a few seconds, but then something releases and you move through it. So, I'll be 80 in a few weeks, and I don't take any pills. So this is amazing to me that at 80, I'm not a person on drugs. But to answer your question, I think I had that realization when I was about 62, when I really got that there was really nothing to fix. The bigger question is always going to be, you don't like, it doesn't mean I have to love pain or like pain. I don't like it. If the body is literally a messenger to get your attention, and often, here's how it works. We're all highly intuitive, but we've been culturally trained to not believe it. And so, those nudges you get inside when you think, something's not right here, but you put it down because everybody else is saying, no, that's not right. You should do it this way. So you do it that way. And then it always ends up a mess. So all the times that you actually press down that intuitive force, even though it seems completely illogical, you end up creating more pain, and the body just intensifies. It's using sensory cues to try and get your attention to just stop, take a breath, and what else is possible here. But that's not the way we've been raised. So I've had, I would say, since I was 62. That's when
that was your spiritual awakening. If you want to call it.
I'd had all kinds of them prior to that, but nothing where I would let my body take the lead as the informer to let me know, hey, wait a minute. You make decisions based on information, the information you have, and then when you get another piece of information, you might have to change your mind. Well, that becomes a problem. If you change your mind based on new information, like signing a lease for a 5-year lease for a retail store, and you think you have all the information and then you don't, and you change your mind, or if something in your life changes and you have to change your mind and you have to consider the consequences of what happens when I change my mind and what happens if I don't change my mind. So I don't look at any of it as good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm looking at it as really when I trust my body to inform me, my intellect can make a way better decision on what's going on. But they've got to work together. So intellect is very conscious. You're making a decision. It has the ability to choose. Your body is basically the library of information. It knows everything about you, and what we're really looking for, at least what I'm looking for when I'm helping people, is to educate them into becoming the space for their own movement and their own flow at multiple levels of thinking. So that would be in the body, and when things feel good in the body, clarity kind of reigns in your thinking, and you can feel pretty good. So
okay. Well, if I could jump in a little bit, because you said quite a bit, but I have to go back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
You're turning 80 soon. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is rather.
You look fantastic. I really think you look beautiful.
Thank you.
You also said that you got to this point of who Sheila really was when you were like 62. So you had quite a lot of years just finding, or perfecting yourself. Oh, also, you did mention, I don't want to forget this one for people listening, you don't take any medication at your age. You don't have to take any blood pressure, just the standard canned stuff that pharmaceuticals want to dole out. You're not taking any of that.
No, I mean, if I have something that's hurting in the moment, I might take an acetaminophen or an aspirin or something like that, just so I can keep moving through it. But I'm not on any prescription medications, nothing like that. So of course, when I go to see the doctor, they're just a little bit shocked but same thing. I was in a really, really terrible car accident 13 years ago in November. I was out for a walk with a friend, and a van came out of nowhere. She managed to jump out of the way, but I literally had to roll over the hood of the van. And I can just remember saying to myself as I was rolling over the hood of the van, it was the most weirdest thing. I just said to myself, don't let my head or my neck be hit. Because the nurse in me knew if I went down and my head and my neck were okay, I'd probably be all right. Well, I landed in the opposite direction. I felt the van go over my leg. I had no idea of the damage that was done. But this is what I mean about paying attention to the intuition. When I actually some people, the van drove off, never saw the van again. It was a hit and run. Some people stopped to help us because we didn't have our cell phones. Nobody had a phone to call. Anyway, some people helped us. And I remember at some point sitting on my bottom, and I pulled up my right leg, and I thought, okay, that's fine. I guess I can stand up. And then I just went to move my left leg. I had no pain. And I just said, oh man, I deal with bodies every day of my life, and there's something not right here. So I stayed down. Well, it turned out if I had stood up, it would have been bad. So I'm telling you that because that was one place where I literally paid attention to my body's signals inside, even though pain is a signal. And even though I was in shock at the time, so I wasn't feeling any pain, but there was enough of a sensory cue there for me to go, something's not right here. And to stay put, like just to literally stay put.
So let me get it right. You said that you had a hit and run, which I can't even believe people would hit someone and right away.
Yeah, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it either, but they did.
I thought everybody has a conscience. I guess some people's don't work. But then
they're probably just scared.
That's true. Or it could have been driving without a license. Who knows? Driving without a license, a kid, who knows what. But you said you sat down and you tried to lift you said your left leg, your right leg?
Well,
I don't remember,
my right leg was okay, so I was moving it as if to stand up. But when I went to draw my left leg up, that was when I went, something's not right here. So the ambulance came, they took me off to the hospital. But, I don't know that I've completely answered your question because I used that thing about the car accident to answer your question, which I don't know what it was right now. Took myself down.
Well, you're giving us so much interesting information. I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm hearing about you. But the question was about who Sheila really is. But then you actually started into my next question about working with physical, emotional, and spiritual and guiding people through it. But then I wanted to know what one belief about pain changed your life. So I think you're getting there with this story. You can read in my mind here.
Well, the whole point of that story was that when I had enough education, re-education to change my mind and start paying attention to what was going on in my body first before I actually made the choice to stand up. Like I was starting, and then more information. Oh, better not. I had a lot of pain growing up. I had a lot of pain. I don't know how I ended up in nursing. I actually grew up thinking I wanted to become a doctor, a chiropractor. But things being what they were, I went into nursing. I loved it. I was good at it. It was not an easy profession, but it allowed me to deal with a lot of people in pain, and I kind of got to be known as the one who understood pain. And I was only in my 20s. It's like I'd had a lot of pain, and what I really discovered about pain in the body is that your physical body, and this is something that just through all the studies over the years, from nursing to natural stuff to, all the modalities that I've learned, your physiology is actually dictated by your state. And your state, your emotional state has a lot to do with what you're thinking, but it's not the conscious thinking, not just the conscious thinking that you're thinking about. It's all the stuff that you believe about yourself, or the stories that you run about yourself that are deeply unconscious and driving the bus. And then there's the essence of who you are. So I think the thing that changed for me was at 62 was the full recognition that I am not my body, and my body is a field of intelligence unto its own. I happen to need the body if I'm going to be having an experience on planet Earth of self-discovery and evolution of self for its own sake. And it's not an either or. I find people will talk about allopathic medicine and surgeries and the medicines, the pharmaceuticals, and then other people will talk about energy medicine and, natural products. But if the context is fixed, broken, which it can be for either, then, it's the Einstein theory where you can't solve things at the same level they were created on. You've actually got to change your thought structure, and thought does have a structure. So we have everything from the physical body right up into spirituality. And I'm not talking about religion here. I happen to think religion is probably the politics of spirituality, but just the essence, the very being of who you are is a signal, and your body is a series of signals. And then we're dealing with signals outside of us. So, something happens outside of you, like a car shows up and drives into you, then drives off. There's all the stuff that happens inside of you. I can remember thinking, just like you just did, who would do that? Like, who in their right mind would do that? Would you not stop? But on the other side of that judgment is somebody who goes, they're terrified. They've probably shocked themselves. I'm not trying to make it right for them, but they're gone. And in my case, they were never found.
Yeah, that's too bad. I get what you're saying, though. I do. I remember getting mugged in college. It was crazy. So I probably shouldn't tell this story. It was bad because I was skipping class. And I was walking back to my apartment because I had to live off campus my last year.
Yeah.
And here comes a motorcycle. And I was just making sure I was out of his way because there wasn't a sidewalk where I was walking. So I was in the road in the gutter. And I was just bebopping along. And then all of a sudden, the guy swerved and knocked me over. And then I remember he kicked my leg. And I was just laying there going, why did that guy kick my leg? He's a bad driver. That's what my first thought was. Then I realized that jerk has my purse.
Oh, wow.
And you're sitting there like, what? You're so violated with stuff like that. And for you to get hurt seriously, what is that person or what is that spirit? I think he needs to get in touch with somebody.
Oh, so we're coming full circle to now why I actually wanted to tell you that story was when you live this way, the way it's literally been a choice for me, and it's a choice every second of the day because the cultural conditioning to not live that way, to live as a victim to yourself instead of, I may not like the reality I'm creating, but at least I've got some cause for it, like I can, it's not about fault and blame. I can be at cause for it. Knowing what I knew after that accident, when the doctor told me that I'd be 4 months in bed, and I was thinking, geez, I have to live. Like, how am I going to create an income? I just took it one day at a time. The generosity of people around was incredible, but I was weight bearing, not in 4 months. I was weight bearing in 2. And that was because of what I know. I just literally, and everything, I saw physio and kept my medical appointments up and all that. And I saw the physio and everything that I could take from them that I could adopt for my own purposes to be able to help myself. I did. And some of it was not easy. When your leg, the femur pushed down on the calf, they had to pull everything up. The meniscus, the kneecap was their word, shredded, plate and screws put in. So, they said 4 months and I was weight bearing in 2. And when you're doing all the stuff that physio says, some of it was just so painful, but I trusted it and I did it. And I think that's really what living this way. It's called wealth systems, working environments as living systems. And I use it and the study of Huna, which I believe underpins wealth systems, to live my life as a spiritual being living in a body that is a sensory device and takes demands from my choices, takes whatever I choose in the moment. It is how it's going to respond. So much of it is so deeply unconscious for most of us. We don't know. And there is a whole way to decode this through something called the code model, creation out of deep energy. So energy is the framework for what actually shows up in tissue. Now, people might wonder, how does that work? You're out for a walk and you're in a car accident. Well, I happened to be with another nurse friend. We were both getting our houses ready to sell. Thing is, she wanted to sell her house. I didn't. I was selling my house to alleviate a financial problem. I was fearful. It all wrapped around money. I was fearful. Fearful of just metaphorically not being able to pay the bill. So it was like the universe, and like I just kept plowing through. I had an auction. I got rid of a lot of stuff. We've got the house up for sale. And my husband didn't want to leave either, but we didn't know how we were going to, satisfy a bill that we eventually satisfied. And we're still in the same house. But it was like
that's
the
nice.
universe. Yeah, the universe. It was like the universe basically stopped me. Like I was in conflict about this move all the time. I was kind of conflict about the money, and I was in conflict about the move. I was in conflict, internal conflict all the time, lying to myself that I wasn't. So it's like the universe just basically, I wasn't listening, so I got stopped literally right in my tracks. And I thought about that later, and I thought, how did I create this? Because literally, in the world I live in, I create everything. So not about fault and blame. How did I actually know to create this? So I had a lot of time in those months while I was recovering to reconsider how I was going to move through the world. So within 6 months, you signed for a while to have your house on the market. I took the house off the market and decided how I was going to live my life in a way that could honor bills. And when I say bills, I'm being metaphorical here. That could honor everything in my life. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It all got looked after. But that is an immersion in trust. That's an immersion in self-trust. And sometimes, boy, you can get kicked off your trust stool, and you just have to get back up again, because I don't know, like the car drivers, I don't know what was going on in their mind. I don't know. A lot of the time, we don't know what's going on in people's lives. And sometimes it's just nice to, even as irritating as it is, it's nice to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, well, I'm going to interject my crazy story back in here. So I just laughed because I was like, it was a violation. I just was offended. So I had to call my dad and complain. But then when I got back to the apartment, well, first I had to tell him I was skipping class. But I had a good reason. Not really a good reason, but I had a reason because we had been out partying the night before. I didn't feel that well. But also, I was a student, so this guy grabbed my purse. There was no money in it. For gosh sakes, I never had any money in college. And then because we had been out partying the night before, my IDs were at home on the dresser because I forgot to put them back in my purse. So he got nothing. So I don't know who got the lesson told. I think I learned the lesson. Don't skip class. Don't skip it. It was psychology. I hated that class at the time. And also, I bet he learned this lesson. He just did all that mugging and then he got nothing. Didn't even, not a dime. There was nothing in my purse. Just a wallet. That was it. Hairbrush, maybe.
Well, here's the interesting thing. So you made a comment earlier about you weren't going to Jacksonville last night, in a pub.
When we were talking, yeah,
and it was
before the call.
Yeah.
Before here, so
before
nobody
the call.
knows that. Nobody knows I was supposed to go to Jacksonville downtown last night.
Well, the interesting thing is, the first thing I thought of was that's a smart move. We're older women. I don't want to be out walking the street late at night either. And only because
I've never been a streetwalker, Sheila. I've never been a streetwalker.
No, I don't think
I'm sorry.
I don't think any of us have. I remember my own mother. My own mother died more than 30 years ago at the age of 69, and I just remember her saying, I go outside, and she said, I don't even carry a purse anymore. She said she goes out for a walk, and she said, because I can't move as fast as I used to. And she said, I've seen too many guys walking past other women. She'd seen 2 or 3 in Toronto, have their purses just snatched from them and taken away. So if we take it back to you getting mugged on the side of the road, we're talking about neurological anchors. If your body has stored that information, that might affect your decision today about where you go
I
and
never
when
thought
you
of
go.
that.
Yeah, because that's why people, I slept the wrong way and I've got a crick in my neck. But if the neck, inside it's the throat, it's the choice point. It's basically where you speak. How many, for women who have issues with catarrh at the back of the throat, or they've had chronic sore throats, or they've had all kinds of things, what is it that they've wanted to say but wouldn't say because the belief system was that it's inappropriate, and we keep bounding on that. And this starts happening really early in life. I think a lot of it's before we're even pre-verbal, but then we get to be 80 years old and it's all neurological anchors. They aren't good, bad, right, or wrong. They just, it's just the stimulus response that sets up information, and you don't even know it's living there until something happens, and then you're in some kind of pain. And the pain may just simply be a looping fear that's hidden, and nobody knows that you're fearful, but you're tied up in knots. I don't mean you, but it's just the way it goes. So
I understand.
So it's like what we carry inside of ourselves is not, I'm really serious, none of it's good, bad, right, or wrong. It just, if we could just learn, and this is where at age 62, I literally learned to soften my jaw, and there's a reason for that with the nervous system, to soften my belly, to literally open my hands, and to just look up and take a big breath. And the minute you do that, the body starts to relax. And I do it as often as I can in order to keep my body grounded, so that when I do go to make a decision, and often, something presents, and I do go to make a decision, I'm going to make one that is a little more grounded. Or if I'm in pain and I feel my body tightening and going into collapse, I'm going to open it up. And the pain might get a little more intense for a moment until it doesn't, because you just keep breathing into it. So pain takes all kinds of forms. It can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be spiritual. And the only way that I've discovered that actually works for me is to remember to take a breath. And like everybody else, I've been programmed, and especially in my experiences as growing up, was the sarcasm that came with being called Speed Queen because I was slow and methodical, and everybody was hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. So I was always running to catch up to what? Like, to what?
Yeah, I have to apologize now that you said that to my son for calling him Turtle all these years. Okay.
Well,
But that's just me.
No,
He was slow. I don't know if he was methodical.
Yes.
He just didn't want to go places and would be slow.
Yeah. Yeah. And Turtle's kind of a cute name, but it would be interesting for you to find out from, yeah. Mine came with, it was called Speed Queen. And, all I could remember was that there were washing machines back when I was growing up called Speed Queen.
Really?
And there's a humor in it. But where I heard it from was often from my father, who he was the king of sarcasm. And I didn't happen to like sarcasm. It was not my thing. And I'm very mindful of it because I didn't like it. I saw how, I felt how it affected me, and I saw how it affected others. No, because I grew up alongside of it, I can go there. And so I don't want to be that person with other people. So sometimes I attribute to sarcasm what probably really is not. It's just a perspective.
Wow.
So you can probably tell when it comes to the whole notion of pain, I'm pretty fascinated with the nervous system and how it works. That's kind of been, I think, when you understand how it works and that it's all brilliant. It is so blinking brilliant, even though you can't stand what's happening. If you really sit down and look at it and look for the patterns, it gets kind of funny. It's sad, and paradoxically, it can be funny at the same time.
Well, we'll talk offline because I have another guest that you would connect with really well because he has the same kind of mindset. So I think you should connect with him. But I want to keep going.
That would be great.
I know we've talked a lot through a lot of my questions, so I'm just going to skip. But I did want to say something about Rottweilers and your Rottweiler. I can't even say the word Rottweiler rescue. A Rottweiler. Yeah. Can people say Lhasa Apso too? I mean, I've gotten familiar with that one.
Lhasa Apso.
Oh,
they're
good
so
for you.
Cute.
They are. Yeah. I love mine. So your Rottweiler and all the rescue, you've been doing this since like 1987. So it's an incredible and loyal breed. I know how good they are. But I want to know one thing. Is there one Rottweiler out of all the ones? Maybe you can't talk because I know your current Rottweiler girl is beside you. But I want to know if there's one that still stays with you in your heart because it changed something in you.
Oh my gosh. Well, you just brought tears.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
don't let me ask about.
I love them all. They were all fantastic, and some of them were funny, and some of them were, my poop doesn't stink. Just leave me alone. Like the Dowager Queen. Every last one of them had a unique has had a unique personality. But the one that brought tears, I love this one I have right now, and she's just turned 7. I've had her for about 14 months. But I had one named Max, and I got him in 2015 when he was 3 years old, and he was to be euthanized on a Monday, and on Sunday I said I would take him. So he saved him from euthanasia. The situation was that he had an owner who was moving to Europe and couldn't find a home for him. And somebody intervened and said, just give me the dog, I'll look after it. So she connected with an organization who connected with me. And I said, oh, I'm going to take him. So most of my Rottweilers have died at 10 or 10 and a half, but Max went to 12 and a half. So he had 9.5 years, and he kind of slowed down at the end, but he looked up the stairs one day. I always took him outside, and then we would travel these stairs, and he would go up once a day and he would come down once a day. And the Monday before he died, he just looked up the stairs, and he looked at me, and it was like I could read his mind, and he went, nope, I'm done. I'm not going up there. So I just kept traveling. I spent as much time as I could over the week with him downstairs, and I just kept going up and down with him. And then he just stopped eating, and then he slowly stopped drinking, and I called the vet, and the vet came and euthanized him on my birthday, because that was the day we could do it. And he was the sweetest dog. And I had women coming in for the hands-on work that I do, the coaching and the hands-on work. They were coming. I've taken 46% of my home. It's become my big office. And they would cry, and he would just go and sit beside them. He had the most gorgeous, the most beautiful face of a Rottweiler I think I've ever seen. And he was just so sweet and so kind. And he's been gone for almost a year, and I still miss him. So yeah, he was life-changing for me. I don't know why. It was just like he had such a close brush, like he could have been removed. And the thing is, it wasn't easy for us when we got him, because he came from a francophone household. His energy signatures were in French, and we're English. So he had to get to, and he was separated from his people. So he had a lot of changes within 3 or 4 days of meeting different people and traveling different places. And so at one point, he cut me with his canine because he just didn't know how to behave. So I literally called the organization. I said, I'm not about to give this dog up. I need to give him a leg up. I need a coach. So they brought a coach out, and I spent and that was just to help me get over my own fear, because I'd never been cut by a Rottie before, ever, in all the years that I'd had them. And that 4 hours I spent with the coach changed everything. The dog transformed overnight, and so did I. And it was a lesson for me that, as deep and as good as I believe my husband and I to be with dogs, sometimes you just got to let go of your ego, and you've got to ask for help. And because the ultimate intention is always to give a person or a dog a hand up, a leg up, just so they can live and trust and feel certain. And he became one of the most trustworthy animals I'd ever had. But it was
beautiful.
tough in the beginning.
That's really a beautiful story.
Well, I'm grateful to you for asking the question. I didn't realize I miss him. When I got Kira, Max had been without a friend for about 18 months, so I didn't know how that was going to work. But just the situation that I got Kira, I brought her home. She was wonderful with him, and he was wonderful with her. And I said to my husband, he's either going to get better and live longer, or he's going to settle into leaving. So he had a good 3 months with her and then he left. She now missed him. It took her 6 weeks to get over him going. And so she's always stuck with me, but now she's settling in. And I might get another dog for her, but I think we generally rescue the older ones. And because we're older, they're a little slower. But I think she'd probably like a younger one. So that's just my read on it, and I don't know. Anyway, tell me what you're.
Oh, I was going to try to make you laugh a little bit. So, I've had a lot of Lhasas. We talked about that before. And so my current Lhasa, one of them is named Maximilian Kisses.
I love it.
I'm the dog namer around here.
Oh, I love that, Maximilian Kisses. It's funny because I wonder if Max was named Maximilian. He just came as Max. He was a great dog.
I don't know why I didn't, but he's actually more connected with my husband than with me, although he likes to sleep on the bed with me until he gets put up for the night. But he started kissing all over us when we first saw him as a puppy. And so it just came to me, Maximilian Kisses. So there we go. We just call him Max.
You talk about the dog sleeping on the bed. The first night I had Kira home with me, she came to my bed and she just looked at me. And I went, I'm sorry. She's 110 pounds. I said, you're not getting on the bed with me, because if you get on the bed with me, you're never getting off. 100. My
dogs don't sleep on the bed the whole night. They just do for a little bit before they get put up. Just a little bit.
I would love that, but I have a feeling I'll never get her off because I've got one couch for her in the house, and she monopolizes it. I mean, she stretches out to about 4 feet long. She's just a big dog.
That's tall. That's almost a person. It's definitely an older child. Well, we're going to change up here. We talked a little bit about you, so we got to know you a little bit better, but we want to dig deep into your vaults of information. And we're now going to shift the focus into playing our signature game, Two Truths and a Lie. The way you play this is that the guest has provided 3 headlines about themselves, and then we get to listen to those headlines, or I'll read out those headlines and everybody listening can hear them, or I'll display them on screen. And then I get to guess which one I think is a lie or which ones are true. I'll just guess the lie. And then you'll go through those stories. Don't tell us as you do them, but at the end, you'll tell us which one's a lie and see if I got it right.
Okay.
So
all right.
I'm going to read these story headlines out. This episode is sponsored by Rebel 180, the home of brave pivots and fresh starts. Rebel 180 is all about helping you rediscover what's possible when you stop settling and start listening to that little tug inside that says, life can be different. Whether you're navigating a career shift, dreaming about a new direction, or standing at the crossroads wondering if it's time for your own 180-degree turn, Rebel 180 is a reminder you don't need permission to change your story. And now, as we open the door to our second sponsor, we're stepping into the world of tech. Simple Socket Print, the lightweight, blazing fast label print solution designed for those who need reliability without the bloat. With version 1.5, you get instant printing in milliseconds, fully maintained print sequence, and automatic base 64 decoding, all without needing print driver installs. If you're running SQL Server 2016 or newer, Simple Socket Print 1.5 drops right in and gets to work. Keep your workflow simple. Keep your label printing fast with Simple Socket Print. Thank you to our sponsors. So, Sheila, your headlines are, Sheila drove 5 days from Eastern Canada to Southern California alone to start a business. She set a temporal goal and arrived 10 minutes before the time. That is a long drive, Sheila. All right. Number
Yeah.
2, with a traveler's heart, Sheila booked 22 trips to the big island of Hawaii in 10 years to study Hawaiian huna. She swam with the dolphins in the ocean. Life changing. And your last one, racing was a passion for Sheila, who used to drive a high powered race car. So, after getting to know you on this call, I'm going to guess number 3 is a lie. But don't tell me. Don't tell me. So, let's go through these stories. Tell us about when you drove from Eastern Canada to Southern California.
Okay, so I actually left Ottawa, Canada, at about 5 o'clock at night and started driving cross country. And I got into the States and just trying to think of the route. And I went through Iowa and Nebraska, and I went down through Colorado and Utah and Nevada and right into Southern California. And my daughter was taking a course, and I knew the course was going to finish at 5 o'clock that day. And and I knew the people who were giving the course, so I wanted to be in the hotel conference room by 5 o'clock. And I arrived in the parking lot at 10 to 5 after 5 days of driving, completely alone. It was really an incredible experience for me. And I had a couple of cheerleaders on the way, and my husband, who had been a national rally driver at one point in his life, he'd done the itinerary for me. So I just followed his itinerary and stayed in touch with people. And that was, I think that was probably August or so of 2002, somewhere around like that. Now that was a big trip.
Did you have a lot of music to listen to?
I had a lot of music. I had some interesting experiences along the way. The one that I remember the most was that I was driving through Nebraska, and it just seemed so monotonous to be driving through, and it was hot, and I had a glass roof, and I had the sun shining through. And I actually think I got a bit of sunstroke because I just kept falling asleep. So I finally kept getting off the road and going into rest stops and throwing water on my face to wake myself up. And finally, because I was really concerned about my timelines, and I finally pulled into a rest stop. I have a splitting headache. I like it. My head was just pounding. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have to lie down. So I literally lay down under a tree and put my car keys underneath my belly like this.
Oh.
And fell asleep for a couple of hours. So nobody'd be able to take the car. And I fell asleep, and I lost 2 hours of driving time. But in fact, I think that's where I would have gained the time, because I literally fell asleep. When I woke up, the headache was gone and the heat had dissipated, and I was able to drive. So
Where did you say you were?
Through I was in Nebraska when that happened, but then I crossed over into Colorado. Then I crossed over into Colorado, and it was unfortunate. I wanted to see Colorado in daylight, but I drove most of it in the dark. Until I found a place to sleep.
Well, some of those Midwestern states, or what do you call those? I don't know, Central America states, like Kansas, for instance. You could be driving and it looks the same. So you think you might have gotten into the twilight zone where you just driving and you're just in the same road and not making any ground. With a traveler's heart, you booked 22 trips to the Big Island to study Hawaiian huna.
Yeah. I started studying huna in 1997, and the mentor I spoke about earlier, the colleague, she phoned me up and asked me to go to breakfast with her one day. and in Ottawa. And when she told me that she had just come, I hadn't seen her in 15 months, and she told me that she just made this trip to study Huna. And I started to vibrate inside. Like, that was basically an internal call to go, because years before I'd read this book by Dan Millman called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And it was all about, the main character was a female kahuna and some really ancient wisdom. Anyway, I read that book. I loved it. And I had no idea that it was going to impact me when my friend Louise starts talking about Huna. And I think, oh my gosh, I've got to go. I have no clue why. This was my intuition and never let me go. It never let me go, but it happened twice a year. And so I was going to make the next trip, but I was waiting for money to fall out of the sky, and it didn't. I had a new business. I had a business partner, so, everything was going back into that. I didn't go. I'd been in business with her for a while, but I didn't go. And then I was really upset with myself. So I called the organization that was teaching Huna, and I booked the trip. And I never looked back. And I continued 22 trips over 10 years. And I went from being a novice student who knew nothing to actually becoming one of the teachers. And over 10 years, I saw there was a lot of growth and there was a lot of changes. And then there came the day when I knew that I'd not outgrown the body of knowledge, but I had outgrown the structure that it was being delivered in. And so I left, and I'm grateful for the experiences that I had there. I met people from all over the world. That was the one thing I missed when I stopped going, was the continuing connections of meeting new people all the time. I got to swim in the ocean a lot, and I did swim with the dolphins, and that was one of the most powerful experiences because it was in the wild. The dolphins, I met a woman she took people out, and she was looking for a craniosacral therapist.
Oh.
She didn't know she was looking that I was doing
for
that.
You.
But we just got to talking. Yeah, she was looking for me, and I didn't know I was looking for her. Anyway, I went out, and it was incredible. And when I decided to come back in, I had spent a fortune on these fins and these shoes. And as I was swimming back in, when I was swimming against the current. And so I just kept going until I could get my feet down on the ground. And then I got up on this big piece of lava, and I'm standing there with my swim shoes on, and I've got my two big fins in my hands. And this massive wave comes by and grabs the fin and takes it out in the ocean. And I went, oh, my fin. And I immediately thought to myself, oh, this is amazing. This has been the price of a great education. And the minute I thought that, the wave brought the fin and landed it right at my feet.
Oh,
no word of a lie.
That's
that
great.
Literally happened.
That's great.
Yeah, so I had some powerful experiences.
Oh, that's wonderful. Did you remember that old TV show, Flipper? Did you ever watch that?
Oh, probably, but it's been a long time.
He lived somewhere on the beach, and he had a dolphin Flipper that he would come up to the pier, and then he'd jump in the water and he'd swim with him.
Yeah. I remember.
That was a cool show. All right, you were on the Big Island. Did you ever visit the volcano, Kilauea?
Oh, many times.
It just erupted.
Yeah, my husband
I could
was
not
showing
believe
me
it.
pictures. Yeah.
I've been up there because there used to be a Navy base there, like just a little mini thing, because they watched over the volcano. So I used to get to go over there sometimes. Yeah, I didn't ever see it erupt, but I just saw that it did again. It is now December the 11th, 2025. And I think I heard them say it erupted on December 9th.
Yeah, there wasn't, but when I was going, if you took the helicopter, Blue Hawaiian helicopters, fabulous to go out. They'll take you right over top of it, and you could just see where it was streaming down, and then hitting the ocean and making new land. I've been to Kilauea many times, and I've also been through the lava tunnels many times.
I didn't do that.
Are up. Yeah, well, actually, I had some pretty interesting experiences going down into those tunnels and way down into the dark. And yeah, it's pretty sacred, I have to say. Pretty beautiful and pretty sacred. Yeah.
Nice.
So
okay, we got one more story. Racing was a passion for you. So you used to drive a high-powered race car. Tell us about when you did that, Sheila.
Up a hill in a Toyota Corolla.
That's the high-powered race car?
That was a high-powered race car.
Okay.
Taking my children, taking my children to meet their friends to go out for Halloween with a classical music blaring out of the car and all of their mothers with me and say, "This woman drives like a hot rod." Actually, I'm a pretty safe and good driver, but just having fun with the kids and making sure they were safe. But so that was as fast as I ever got. And it was in a Toyota Corolla.
So can I safely say that was the lie and I got it right?
That was a lie and you got it right. All the rest of it is true.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I love this. I love this game that you have. This is cool. Yeah.
I just love to find out about people. And I'm glad you shared this with us because it just puts you inside of somebody's life. And so many people don't know that they're having these adventures and that they are fun and that they are memories and they're just fun, spectacular events. But then they don't get the spotlight for them. And so now you've got the spotlight. You got to share your fantastic stories on Project Candor, and I love it. Even if you weren't really a race car driver, that was something you remembered.
Yeah, and actually, my father started teaching me how to drive a truck when I was 13. I didn't actually get my license till I was 20. But I'd been driving country roads with his truck in the summer for years. And then finally I decided, well, he was always with me, but finally I decided that I would get the license. So I did that when I was 20. And I remember him walking out the front door in Toronto going to take the test. And he looked at me and he said, "Best of luck." And I said, "Thank you. And if I don't get this, I'll never get it because you have been the hardest taskmaster when it came to teaching me how to drive." But I learned a lot from him because he owned a cartage business and he taught me how to see ahead driving through windshields and all kinds of things. Like I did take some professional driving lessons, but I never ever got those tips from somebody who that was his life. He drove a truck every day or trucks.
Expert advice from someone you love.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I guess that's the end of our show. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate you being here. And also, I will hope that you will come back sometime. I know you have many more stories you could share with us.
No, I would love to come back. I love the name of your podcast, Jeanne.
Thank you.
I think Project Candor, I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great thing you're doing.
Thank you so much. It comes from my project background and just seeking the truth. I go around the world to seek the truth, and I'm ex-Navy, so I'm just going to put my hat on and show you. And I'm a pirate. I'm out there trying to find treasures in everybody's life. So thank you so much, Sheila.
You're welcome. Write that down.
Write that down. Well, I got it on here.
Find treasures in life. Treasures in life.
Yeah, well, thank you.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna see you next time.